From Advaita perspective, we are in this room number 18 or 19, sorry. The replays of all the other rooms are the classes are available on the Advaita Retold channel, and you can listen to them there, or you can come into Clubhouse and listen to them on replays. And another announcement is on Fridays we won't have regular classes. Instead, we'll have a discussion, and on Sunday we have the open discussion. The other 4 days we meet at 8:30, like today, and Binduji will be offering classes. So for housekeeping reasons, we'll close the chat and hand raising. And after an hour, when Binduji is completed the class, we'll open up the hand raising and chat so that you can pose any questions that arise during the discussion. Over to you, Binduji. Namaste. Thank you.
Namaste. Thank you, Prakash. Namaste and Hari Om to everyone. Let me do my invocation. Om Namo Brahmadibhyo Brahma Vidya Sampradaya Kartribhyo Vamsharishibhyo Mahadbhyo Namo Gurubhyaha Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashi Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Ishvaro Guru Ratmeti Murti Veda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shri Guru Bhyo. The Gita Dhyana Shlokam. Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudramarutaha Stunvandi Divyai Stavai Vedai Sangapadakramो Upanishadai Gayandiyam Samaga Dhyanavastita Tadgatena Manasa Pashyandiyam Yoginaha Yasyam Navidussura Suragana Devaya Tasmai Namaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha. We did the 22nd verse in the last class. Vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya navani grannati naroparani tada sharirani vihaya jirnani anyani samyati navani dehi. So we found that just as a man changing his worn out clothes, the dehin means the Atma. Jirnani sharirani vihaya anyani samyati navani samyati. Just as jirnani, the word jirnani means decayed. But then a question can come: what happened to the death of those who have not become old and decayed, or enslaved by or decapitated by disease, etc.? Here we should understand that this is a example where the man who changes the dress, he is the changeless one in the changing dress. So here, if you look at the Sanskrit grammar, the word used is naraha in singular word. Whereas Jirnani Vasamsi is many, is in plural. So singular occupier or user and multiple or dresses. Same way, the dehin is a singular word indicating Atma, whereas the word sharirani, jirnani, this shows that there is multiple bodies, So the question should be asked by an intelligent student that why singular for the occupier or the one who is using it and the multiple for the bodies, or whether the dresses or the sharira. Here there is an indication towards that in all shariras also it is only one Dehi which is existing. That is a hidden meaning which we have to understand. Same way, in all the dresses, you may have a wardrobe full of dresses. And if the same man is the one or the same person is the one who is changing all the dresses. And he may buy new from the shop also, which is not his at that time, but when he buys, he has an option to use it. That is why this is an example for the same Atma being present in multiple Dehas, or the same person using multiple dresses. If this aspect is clear, then let us move further down into the next verse. Nainam chindandi shastrani, nainam dehati pavakaha, na chainam kledayantyapaha, na shoshayati marutaha. Enam shastrani na chindandi. Enam means this Atma. Shastrani na chindandi. Weapons cannot cut. Chinda means, chindandi means multiple wounds or multiple cuts into the shastrani means by multiple weapon. Enam pavakaha na dahati. Enam means again this soul. Pavakaha na dahati. The fire cannot burn it. Again, enam apaha na kledayanti. This soul, water cannot wet. Cha and or nor. Enam marutaha na shoshayati. Marutaha is wind. This soul is not dried up or, blown away in the wind. Meaning is very simple. That we cannot consider any of this. Nainam chindandi shastrani means this Atma is not cut by wounds. What does it indicate? It indicates that the cutting or the, or where we make it into pieces, it can be done only where we can see that they have parts by the form of limbs or, which can be having parts. Now, where there is no parts available, how can it cut? There is only one piece. Now you may say that, assuming that there is only one body without, parts, that can be cut into two pieces, like a log of tree is cut into two pieces. It is not that what this thing, but here Shankaracharya is very clearly giving the explanation. Yasmad anyonyaha nasaha hetum bhutani enam atmanam nasetum utsahante asya adini tasmat nityaha. The factors that mutually cause destruction, such as weapons, fire, water, etc., air, etc., do not dare to destroy the self. Therefore, it is eternal. Not only that, because it is nityatvat, it's sarvagata. No, sorry, this I am taking the next weapon. Jainam chindanti shastrani, right. So, what it says that, na enam chindanti it shastrani. Enam pragrudam dehinam shastrani na chindanti niravayavatvad asya adini shastrani avayavaha vibhagam na kurvanti. The weapons do not cut this self. The one who is embodied, because it is partless, the self is embodied in this thing. The body can be cut into parts, but the self which is embodied in the body cannot be cut because the self is partless. The weapons like swords, etc., cannot perform a division of the parts for it. How do we interpret it? The Atma or the Dehin is Niravayava, without any parts, no limbs, no physical structure. It is indivisible. Therefore, weapons like swords, arrow, bow, etc., arrow or, club, any of those weapons cannot destroy or cut something that has no parts. They can only remove parts from the body of something. But what is embodied, that doesn't have any parts. Since the self has no parts, it is invulnerable to physical divisions. The destruction what we see is only for the body, not for the embodied self, which is you, the conscious principle. Tada yenam pavakaha agnihi api na dahati na basmi karoti ityartha. Similarly, the fire cannot burn this to reduce it into ashes. The fire can burn only things which are combustible or matter, something with a material form. The self is not a material object. It is consciousness itself. Therefore, fire cannot affect it. It can only burn the gross body, but the Dehin, the Atma or the you, cannot be touched, remains untouched. Tatacha enam apaha na kledayanti. Similarly, water do not wet it. Water can only moisten or wet or dissolve something in it that is porous or has a surface. If it has got surface, it can wet the surface. If it is porous, water can enter it. If it is soluble, it can be dissolved. The self has no physical qualities of surface or a substance of that nature to become wet or to dissolve in the water. It cannot be drowned because it has no physical entity for displacement or any other physical activity in the water. Therefore, water cannot touch it. He savayavasya vastunaha adribhava karanena avayava vislesha apadane apam samartyam tad niravayave atmani na sambhavati. For the capacity of water lies in making a part possessing object wet, thereby causing the separation of its parts. That is not possible in a partless self. For example, the logical reason is the water power is to penetrate parts of a compound like a log. The log of wood has porosity in it. So it can make the wood soggy and eventually it will wither away into parts or disintegrate into smaller broken log pieces. Since the self has no avayava or no parts, there is no entry point into Atma for the water. Which shows that the Atma or you are fundamentally distinct from any compound which is perishable object. You are not a perishable object. Tadacha vayu sneha shoshanena snehavat dravyam nashayati athava marutaha api enam swatmanam na shoshayati. The wind cannot destroy it. It can only destroy a moist substance by drying up, or the wind can also, disintegrate powders. But this is not a multiple compound like a dust or particles like that. Nor is it a wet object like a wet surface, etc. Wind destroys by dehydration or evaporation. It removes the moisture, sneha, that binds parts of something together. Like drying a wood until it cracks. The self has no moisture, no binding element, no physical composition. Therefore, it is impervious for wind to be capable of destroying it. So in a nutshell, if you look into this, all the logical and ontological reasons is given why Atma is indestructible. The destruction is a property of compound or matter. Atma is not a matter but a conscious being. To sum up, it is partless, niravayava, which is to indicate that it is not even an assembly of components. It is Purnam, its whole, indivisible consciousness. The consciousness is not the consciousness which we understand as our mental modification, which has got parts. That's why some we remember, some we do not remember. It is not that consciousness we are talking about. Most of the time we under the misapprehension that consciousness or awareness, what we are talking about is that happening in the mind or intellect as a vritti. It is not that what we are talking about. This is niravayava. It can never be made into parts. So, weapons cannot divide it, fire cannot burn it, water cannot moist it, wind cannot disintegrate or evaporate it. Since self is none of these, which is into the category of weapons, fire, water or wind, without parts, without material substance and no physical properties, it is not even an object for any of these destructive powers to operate upon. So the 5 component elements which we have know that is not the self. When we understand this, our identification shifts from the ever-changing body, Deha Abhimanam, that I am the body. I am the mind, intellect, body complex, which is vulnerable, whereas I am Atman, which is invulnerable and changeless. And once this understanding becomes the foundation, it will remove all sorts of fear, grief, sense of mortality, etc., which we are afraid of. And we realize that what we truly is Atma, which is never born or which never dies. So, use this shloka for knowing our true nature. If we are feeling hurt in the body level, it is because we are identifying with the body level. Therefore, the injury to the body we feel as our injury. But it is the Atma presence which makes the mind to know the injury and the pain, etc. But when the mind is not in operation, the same individual does not even remember any of the pain which he is gone through in the waking when he is in the deep sleep. So it's very clear that we are wrongly identifying ourselves and then making all the hue and cry that I am having sorrow, grief, pain, pleasure, all those things. Sukha dukkhe, all those things which we heard earlier. So the next sloka says, Achhedyam ayam, addahyam ayam, akledyam ayam, ashoshe vacha. Nitya sarvagatasthanu radavachalam sanadanaha. Ayam achedyaha. This soul is incapable of being cut into pieces. Achedyaha means, chedyaha means to cut into pieces. Achedyaha means it is not possible for the Atma to be cut into pieces. Ayam adahyaha. Dahanam is to burn. Dahyaha means capable of getting burnt. Adahyam means it is incapable of getting burnt. Even when it is knowing fire, the fire cannot burn it. You may touch the fire, your hand will get burnt. But that hand is not you. You know your hand as an object. Therefore, adahyaha. I am akledyaha. Klida is to dissolve. Kledyaha means potency to dissolve in water. Akledyaha means does not have the potency or the capability to dissolve in water. This Atma, this self of our true nature, is something which will not be afraid of water because the water cannot touch it. But there are people with fear that they don't want to swim. They think that, they will get drowned. Thinking that is their thinking that because they are the body. Ashoshyaha. By air, shush is to, to aerate or to dry. Ashoshyaha means incapable of drying. Not that it is wet. Even the air can only dry, which is things which are wet. So when it is not even wet, what can the air do? I am Nityaha. This soul is eternal. Sarvavyapi means spread everywhere. Thanu. Thanu means immovable or constant. Achala hai is immovable. Thanu is constant. Sthiraha. That is Thanu means sthiraha. Sanatanaha. Sadanutana. Always new or everlasting. So, weapons do not cut the self, nor does fire burn it. Water cannot wet it and wind cannot dry it. It is eternal, it is all-pervading, it is constant, it is immovable, and it is always new or eternal. Yasmad anyashesham nasa hetu bhutani enam atmanam nasayitum na utsahare asyadini tasmad nityaha. The factors that mutually cause destruction or dissolving all laws, etc., such as weapons, fire, water, air, etc., do not dare to destroy this self. Therefore, the self is eternal. The one which doesn't have a destruction is called an eternal one. Nityatvat sarvagataha. Sarvagataha means all-pervading. Because it is eternal, it is all-pervading. How? The eternity is one property which is all-pervasive in nature. In everything, there is eternity. But when we look at the qualifications or adjectiveness or the name and form, they appear to be impermanent. But there is a substratum or the all-pervading nature as the dependency for the names and forms, whether we call it as existence or Atma, Sat or Chit or Atma, Brahman, although any name you want to give that aspect, but it is all-pervading means here we may get into idea that space is brought into picture. No, even space is inside that. So a thing which can contain space, which is eternal, is what is being indicated here. Sarvagatatvat sthanu iva sthira iti etat. Because it is all-pervading, it is unchanging or constant, immovable or stable. Stiratvat achalaha ayam atma. Because it is stiraha, means stable, it is immovable. The self is motionless. Ataha sanatanaha, chirantanaha. Therefore it is ever ancient or long enduring or ever new. Na karanat kutaschit deshpannaha abhinava ityartaha. Not produced from any cause whatsoever and not newly arisen is the meaning which is indicated by Sanatana. Sanatana means ever ancient or ever long and long lasting. Is to deny that it is produced by any cause whatsoever, nor is it newly arising for the first time. Not any of these things are being, all these things are being negated in that. Na etesham shlokanam paunurutyam chodaniyam yataha ekena eva shlokena atmanaha nityatvam avikriyatvam cha uktam na jayate mriyate va ityadinaha. There seems to be a repetition of the verses from 20th verse. Therefore, there is a dosha called paunarutyam, means repetition. So Shankaracharya says that it is not subject to repetition because a single verse itself, both the eternity and changeless of the self has already been told in the 2020. It is not born, it is not die, etc. Tatra et eva atma vishayam kinchit uchyate tat etasmat shloka arthad na atiruchyate kinchit shabdataha punaruktam kinchit arthataha iti. Whatever has been stated here concerning the self does not exceed the meaning that was given in the verse 2020. Najayate mriyate va katachit. Some repetition may appear to be merely verbal, arthataha, shabdataha, and some repetition in the sense of the meaning of that, arthataha. It may appear that it is like this. Whereas, dhurbodatvat atmanaha vastunaha Bhagavan Vasudevaha punah punaha prasangam apadya shabda andarena tadeva vastu nirupayati. So if you look into it, because the reality is what Shankaracharya says that dhurbodatvat atma vastunaha. The nature of Atma is durbodha, means very difficult to grasp. The reality of the self, Atma, is very difficult to grasp. Therefore, Bhagavan Vasudeva repeatedly introduces the topic and explains the very same reality again and again in different words, so that this unmanifest principle, though bound by ordinary cognition for embodied beings, may become a subject of understanding for the cessation of samsara. Katannu nama samsarinam asamsaritva buddhi gocharattam apannam sat avyaktam tattvam samsara nivrityoho syad iti. So this repetition by Krishna is to make it be the thing which is beyond cognition for embodied being, for like us, become an object of understanding and help us in the cessation of samsara or our phenomenal world feeling of reality of the body. This passage is not only explaining the self, but also defending the pedagogical method of repetition in the Gita, where the Nainam Chindanti Shastrani, Nainam Davhadi Pavakaha, all those things, plus Achedhyam Avidyo, both are telling almost the same thing. And then if it is talking about the eternity and of the saying, Na jayate mriyate va, in the verse number 20, he has already mentioned it. So we have to understand that what is the Hetu Parambara or the logical reasoning. Indestructibility, therefore it is Nityaha, eternal. And since it is eternal, it is all pervasive, Sarvagataha. And all pervasiveness is proving that it is in its immovability. If it is all pervasive, where can you move it? You cannot move it. Sthanu, stiraha. And because of the immovability, it is motionless, achalaha. And motionlessness shows that it is beginningless or unproduced, sada nutanaha, sanatanaha. It may appear to be poetic, but it's a metaphysical, logical reasoning. When it clarifies sanatana, Shankaracharya says that it is not produced from any cause, nor it has not arising abhinava. Sanatana means abhinava. Not. We heard this argument earlier. That which is not present being born is denied for the case of Atma. Because in the Sankhya philosophy, the parinama, the production, style of production is from the cause and the effect. That is being negated also in the indirect way. So why does Krishna keep on saying the same thing again and again? It is for the difficult intellects to understand, or yesterday we were discussing about it, to get out of the limitation which we are facing every day with the identification with our physical, mental, intellectual body as that we are that. Those who think that we are that are the durbodha. People who are finding it difficult to grasp it because of habitual thinking of object being identified as the subject. We are the subject, yet we identify the object which is the body, mind, intellect, which is known to us, or we are capable of knowing it as we are. Even though logically we can accept that what is known is not the subject, but the object. Yet, we know the body, we know the mind, thought, emotions, feelings, etc. And still we think that we are the body, mind, intellect complex. Therefore, it is durbodha. And to make it easy for us to understand, the verbal repetition by using the same words and semantic repetition by giving the same sense or the meaning of it is the intention behind the teaching of Lord Krishna. Then in the next verse number 25, Avyaktoyam achintyoyam avikaryoyam uchyate. Tasmat evam viditvainam nanu shochitum arhasi. So remember, we started with nanu shochanti pandita. Now here he is again saying that nanu shochitum arhasi. What does it say? I am avyaktaha uchyate. This soul is spoken as unmanifest. I am achintya uchyate. This soul is spoken as achintya. You cannot comprehend it. I am atma avikaryaha ityuchyate. This soul is being referred or mentioned as immutable. Tasmat, therefore, enam, this soul, evam viditva, knowing it as such, as mentioned earlier, unmanifest, incomprehensible, and immutable. Knowing in this form, you should not grieve. Now you are grieving, saying that you are going to kill or you are going to be killed. Both are not possible because Atma is unmanifest, incomprehensible, and immutable. This self cannot be cut, burnt, or wet. It is timeless. It's all pervasive. It is free from all changes. Motionless. It is very fresh. All those things we have seen it in the previous verse. Here what does it say? Sarvakarana avishayatvat na vyajate iti avyaktam ayam atma. Because it is not an object of any of the sense organs. Sarvakarana avishayatvad. It is not manifested. Therefore, the self is called unmanifest. It is not possible for any sense organs. Either the sense organs of perception or the sense organs of action or the mind or the intellect. It cannot objectify that. Therefore, it is unmanifest. It is achintya, unthinkable. How? Because it is unmanifest. Therefore, ataha eva achintya ayam yad hi indriya gocharaha tat chinda vishayatvam avatyate. Only objects which can be in the range of senses, either by sabda sparsha rasa rupa gandha or by our organs of action or mind, intellect, etc., we can bring about a thought of the object. Since it is unmanifest, what instrument can we use to grasp the unmanifest object? We cannot. But this self, being beyond the senses, is unthinkable, therefore. Since it is unthinkable, ataha eva avikaryaha. For the same reason, it is avikarya means unchangeable. Vikara means change. Avikara means change, unchanging. Avikaryaha means the one unchangeable as an object. Yada kshiram dadyad Anchanaha adini adina vikari na tada I am Atma. He is giving an example of how milk is undergoing a modification to become curd and butter, etc. This self does not undergo any change. Therefore, it is avikari. Niravayavatvacha avikriyaha. Also because it is partless, it is changeless. Nahi niravayavam kinchit vikriya atmakam drishtam. Nothing partless is ever seen to be the nature of modification. The thing which is partless has never been seen as modifying. Avikriyatvad avikaryaha. Now he is bringing the other word avikriyat, avikarya. There are two words. I am Atma Uchyate. Avikriyatvad means changeless. And this self is not subject to modification. Changeless and modification, the two words, there is a mild variation between the two. Tasmat evam yatha ukta prakarena yenam atmanam viditva tvam na anushochitum arhasi. Handa aham yesham maya ete hanyate. Therefore, having known the self in its true nature, as in the manner described above, you need not grieve thinking that I am the killer of these people, they are killed by me, etc. It is sarva karana avishayatvad, beyond all sense organs. It is neither perceptible nor expressible as an object. Avyaktaha means it is not manifest as the matter in the Sankhya. Prakriti is the one which is that which here it is saying it is unmanifest, avyaktaha, that which never becomes an object at all. And why is it achintya? We see that, always perception, memory, inference, etc., all of which are required for indriya gocharatva, for the sense organs to understand or know something. Atma cannot be perceived, it cannot be an object of memory, nor can it be an object of inference. Because it is neither seen, nor inferred, nor objectified. It is beyond all those things. Therefore, it is called achintya. Not objectifiable with thoughts. Atman is not a material for change like the milk and the curd, etc. Therefore, physical transformation, psychological transformation, or metaphysical evolution, all these are impossible in the Atma's case. Avikaryaha, avikriyaha. These are the subtle distinction between these two. Avikriyaha means that does not undergo a change, whereas avikaryaha cannot be made to change. Both, that is the difference between the avikriya and avikarya. That which can undergo change is avikriya. That cannot be not made to change, that is avikarya. The self is internally changeless as well as externally untouchable by any causal force to undergo any change. So, this gives the removal of grief and agony which we go through, because we are always going through grief and agony. Moral and existential limitations are being released on that. The self does not act, it does not change, it does not kill, it does not get killed. And even the notions, I am the killer and you are killed, both are born out of ignorance. Grief arises only when the self is confused with the body-mind complex. The self is unmanifest, therefore the instrument of cognition has no way to even assume that nature of Atma is so and so. Since it is beyond the sense organs, even thoughts or memory or any of the methods which we are familiar with, we cannot objectify Atma. And since it is not in the realm of matter, it is partless and therefore it is changeless. And what is changeless is not subject to modification. Therefore it is unmodifiable by external means also. Knowing this, one should truly be freed from grief and worship. The true knowledge of the self cannot be descriptive in nature. But the nature is, the knowledge, even though it is not descriptive, it is liberative in nature. Moksha. Knowing is jnanat mukti. That is what it says. This knowledge is not for objectifying. This knowledge is liberating in nature because the knowledge destroys the ignorance with which we are identifying with our body-mind complex. And once we know that we are that self, not the body-mind complex, then we should understand the meanings of the word avyakta, achintya, avikarya, avikriya. All those things are the qualities which we have to identify ourselves. Because of the entire edifice of sorrow, fear, etc. and moral confusion is built on not knowing this aspect of our true nature. That our true nature is avyakta, means it cannot be described. Achintya, it cannot be thought. Don't ever think you will know it by your mind as such and such. Like how we know today things. Then you are no more a subject. If the moment you start knowing Atma as an object within the thoughts in the mind, then that Atma becomes Chintya, but it is Achintya. And we saw that Avikarya and Avikriya, both. That Vikriya means Vikara. Avikarya means causation, with that it cannot be caused upon also. So a person who can identify ourselves, na shochidum arhasi. For all our sorrow or expectations is because what is not possible for us, we want that to happen. And when that doesn't happen, we become sad or sorrow. We are that which cannot be thought about but we want to know Atma with our knowledge as a subject or knowing an object. All the grief which we are having in the physical world is when we are identifying with our body-mind complex. And the body-mind complex is Vyakta, means very clear. It is with parts. It has got birth, death and decay is on the body level. It is Chintya. We can think about it. We can have the memory of it. We can recall the memory about it. And Avikriya and Avikarya are the qualities of the body. And then we complain about sorrow, grief, fear of death, fear of injury, fear of pain, all those things. And then we are in an eternal whirlpool of sorrow, where we are not to be there, we are pushing ourselves due to the ignorance. So the true knowledge of the self is liberative with nature. We should know our true nature and abide in it. That abidance in that true knowledge of the nature of Atma is the only liberating force which can take us away from all the sorrow. We'll continue this tomorrow, the 26th verse. Atachainam nityajadam nityam va manyase smrutam tadapi tvam mahabaho naivam shochitum arhasi. So, one more verse why we should not lament upon is being mentioned by Krishna in the next verse, which we'll see tomorrow. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Sri Gurubhyo Namah. Harihi Om. Thank you. Dhanyawad.
Thank you very much, Binduji. I've opened the chat and the hand raising. If you have any follow-up discussions or questions, Binduji will be here for about half an hour or so. Namaste, Ganeshji. We can see your mic unmuting, but we can't hear you.
Good evening, Bindoji.
Good evening, Ganesh.
Good evening, Prakash. Bindoji, I was engrossed in today's lecture. The thing is, all the things that are told about the true nature of Atma are in a negative statement, isn't it?
Yes.
But emphatically they say it is. That easiness, of course, it is the nature of the intellect and also the nature of our ego to get some kind of a convincing answer, logically convincing answer for that. But as such, about its nothing is ascertained about its easiness. Isn't it, Bindoji?
Because it is because it is Achintyam. If anything is ascertained and positively given, we will be objectifying it.
Yes.
Then you are no more you cannot be the subject then. You will become an object. So if you want to be the subject, all that is in the realm of objectifiable, has to be denied. And when everything is denied, what will happen? You will become yours. That is why
remain? Does anything remain when everything is negated?
The one who is negating will be remaining, no?
Okay.
The one who is negating cannot negate himself.
And he cannot think about himself also. Rather,
he cannot think about himself. He cannot know about himself. He cannot taste himself. He cannot see himself. Nothing. Yatra nanyat pasyadi anyat shrunodi anyat vijanati.
Yeah. Yato vacho nivartante again.
Yes. See, the Upanishads are very clear.
Yeah. So, the question is, when something unthinkable and ununderstandable, inexplicable, when all such things are the qualities of a particular thing which is there, is it experiential?
It is experiential as
beyond the mind,
beyond the sense organs, mind, body, intellect, everything. That is why it is moksha karanam. Jnanam jnanat evatu kaivalyam. Kevalata bhava, that non-dual state where there is nothing other than that. When that is the situation, how can that objectify itself? It cannot.
Yes.
And since it cannot be objectifiable, all the qualities of the objectified have to be negated. That will give you what is happening in the objectified realm, like janana, marana, dukkha, vyadi, adi, and fire, water, all the panchabhutas acting upon. All those things are for objects because they are all in the field of matter, or we can call it as jada.
Yeah.
Here we are talking about the Chaitanya. The Chaitanya cannot think about himself. The Chaitanya can never taste himself, touch itself, know itself. Nothing is possible. But at the same time, when you negate everything, the negating Chaitanya will remain. The neti process also, after you negate everything, the one who is negating has to even drop the idea that I am a negator.
Yeah.
Then he has no words. He becomes a muni.
Yeah. So it is an exclusively subjective experience without the objectification of anything that comes within the purview of mind and matter transactions.
That is why in the Brihadaranya it says, Yat Sakshat Aparokshat.
Wow. Very oxymoron kind of thing. Sakshat Aparoksham.
Yes.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Bindoji. But this scintillating effect of the intellect or the logic, or we can source it to our the ego, its effect, I don't think it will stop. It will be keep on questioning or keep on what I should say, interfering in the course of the path of realization or path of the comprehension of the realization part of it. It keeps on as an inevitable evil. It acts continuously.
There where all the thoughts end, that is the place where the knowing takes place. That knowing and being is the same at that time.
Wow.
So the thoughts are ending only when you have got these type of oxymorons and places where the mind cannot think beyond it.
Yeah.
Then the mind becomes no mind. At the same time, you exist. You as the Atma will exist, not identifying with the body, mind, intellect.
Thank you, Binduji. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ganesh. Namaste, Venkat.
This was a good navigation today. Just one extended question, you can take it that way. That Vasamshi Jirnani Yata.
Jirnani. Yes.
So this, that taking a new, as if like, wearing a new cloth, Atman discards this body and takes another body. Looking at that, the cycle of birth, rebirth, Atman doesn't take dress, just that extensions, that mind and body, mind and intellect extensions, the whatever impressions get carried, desires get carried, leading to rebirth. That was the broader context. Why that context is not explained further? I know Atman is that boundary is well created to explain all the verses from there on. Why not this aspect is not at all taken?
These aspects are for Madhyama Adhikari. The sense that when you are talking from the pure form of, the transcendental state, these terminologies have no locus standi. But if you cannot come to the transcendental level of understanding, and if you think that you are the body, vasana, and the karma, sanchita karma, agami karma, prarabdha karma, all those things, if you think it is there, then that is the secondary level of explanation where they say that you have to take punarjanma and you have to exhaust your vasanas, and when your vasanas are exhausted, you will get chitta shuddhi, and in the chitta shuddhi jiva, when you take a birth, you will be getting a guru to guide you and realize that. But for whom? Na gurur naiva shishya. There is no guru required, no shishya is there. There is only Atma is there. Sarvam khalu idam Brahma. Right? So, all those questions are answered for people who consider the body is going through a birth and rebirth and vasanas and prarabdhas, etc. But those who have really understood Aham Brahmasmi, or this Aham is no more than body, mind, intellect complex or the objects which I am seeing. It is in me everything is being seen, and therefore there is no birth for me, no death for me. I am the changeless, partless, and pure consciousness. When that knowledge in which you are operating, you will know that even the body, the birth, the vasanas, rebirth, etc. are all stories of the waker who is thinking that there is a reality to it. That's all.
I get this philosophy. For in part of yoga, I've seen my prior lives. that was not a concept. It explains a lot about what I'm looking for, the path of realization that is imminent. I know if we talk about Atman, there's nothing else, right? Why the configuration is such can be explained this way too. But that very reason why the contemplation is happening has to be deduced, not as a concept, but as an experience, right, Biloji?
A place where there is no experience, how will you explain that experience?
Diminishes the very reason for contemplation, right, Biloji?
That is why if you are operating at the waker level, then the story built by the waker will have to be taken as reality, and then you have to work contemplation, you have to do yoga, you have to do dhyana, you have to do all those things. But when you know that you are not just the waker alone, you are Debyo Vilakshana Sakshi Chinmatroham Sadashivam. That is your Sadashivam. You are that pure Atma. What contemplation can Atma do to realize himself?
This is perfect. No doubt, no question about it. But the verse explained has a double dimension.
The verse explained this only for the Shankaracharya very clearly says that don't take it beyond the meaning which it is intended to. It is the same Kaumaram Yauvanam Jara. That is the Shariras Vasansi Jirnani Vasi is talking about. He's not talking about this body to another body and all those things. It's only in the same body, in the same person, he abandoned his Kaumaram, then he takes his Yauvanam, then he takes his Jara and Vardakyam. So all happening to the same person. Same is the case for the Atma. If those who are thinking that this birth and rebirth is real, all the body is not there. They are the Atma, which may appear, because he is answering the story to the one who believes in the story. Your belief is that you are telling Arjuna that you are saying that you are going to get killed or you are killing this Pitamaha, etc. and all those things. And you will say that Mrityulu, then you will get Veera Swargam, because being a Kshatriya, you will go to heaven. All those things are your belief that you have got birth and death and everything. Now when we go to in another 2-3 verses, it will come. Jadasya mrityor dhruvam vritam jasya janmasya mritasya cha. Their birth and death, what comes will go, what will, all those things are being explained. So that there are 2 levels under which it is to be understood. One is, if you are belonging to the waker and the waking stories, then there is everything which is in the Shastra for that person. But the same Shastra tells you that you are not that. So now you have to decide whether what the Shastra told as for the body and etc. is what is right, or whether the Shastra is saying that you are not the body, mind, intellect, but you are the Atman. Which one you want to take will depend upon how your mental framework is there. Each one's mental framework will attune it for accepting something. So if you still feel that your contemplation, yoga, all those things are required, please do it. Nothing wrong, because Shastra itself says that. Shravana Manana Nididhyasana. Right? So if you want to do that, you have to do that Nididhyasana. But even you know that who is doing the Shravana and Manana and Nididhyasana? The Jada cannot do it independently. The Atma doesn't need it because Atma is already Atma. For then, for whom is the Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana? Those who think that they are the body.
Binduji, in the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, there is the introduction. I think that framework was really good. The pravurti nivrutti marga that applies to a verse like this. It explains whichever the way it is going, pravurti or nivrutti. Because for Atman there is no anyway pravurti nivrutti both.
No.
Right.
That is there for only those who think that. That is why Shankaracharya says the framework from the point of view how Krishna is now going to address Arjuna to get him out of that idea that there is pravritti and nivritti. Okay. Thank you, Venkat. Anu?
Namaste, Binduji.
Namaste.
Once you realize yourself and or Atma, is avoidance required? I mean, can you ever get again identified with the person?
Do you need anything if you have gone to sleep? Assuming if you have gone to deep sleep, do you need anything in your life?
No.
So, when you realize, you will be in a state of that non-dual state of being where there is nothing to diminish your being. There is not even an iota which can challenge you. So you are in a state of Niratishaya Ananda. That you call it as Ananda only from the point of view of where we are now. But there it is not even Ananda. Because there is no word which will operate there. Even the word Ananda, Sat, Chit, all of them are redundant in that state. But it is a positive beingness. It is not that it is total zero or annihilation. That is the substratum with which the whole experience of the waker, dreamer and deep sleeper is going on happening. So then when you know and you shift to the Sakshi, it is not, nothing is happening actually speaking. It is awareness playing itself. The stories of the waker, dreamer and deep sleep is nothing but awareness. If awareness is not there, there is neither waker nor dreamer nor deep sleeper. Ebhyo vilakshana sakshi. You become the sakshi without the lakshanas of any of the waking, dream and deep sleep. Chinmatroham sadashiva. Chit matra, pure awareness. Sadashiva, the most uncontaminated. Shivam means pure. Be in that.
But you talked about avoidance.
Abidance is there from the point of view when you look from the point of view or what I was explaining to Venkat, contemplation. A contemplation will be a form where you are mentally start abiding in the Sakshi. But the Sakshi the witness has the role of a witness only when there is a waking, dream and deep sleep as a functions of the awareness. Even that will not be there when you really abide in. Therefore, the contemplation and everything, abandoning, is the beginning where when you know that you are the Sakshi and this awareness, there is no separate waking, separate dream, separate deep sleep. They are all nothing but one awareness itself. Today we call it as waking, dream and deep sleep from our experiential point of view. But when you are moving toward this witness Sakshi point of view, they are not separate. They are nothing but awareness in action. Not in action in the sense that it is an activity to do. It is the swabhava of this awareness. Esha devasya swabhavaha. Mandukya says that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Anna.
Binduji, I have a question.
Go ahead.
So, when Arjuna listens to Krishna and when the transmission is happening, is there anything that relates to Arjuna's shift in his or response to that or his shift to that? Is there something that
Yes.
you can provide? Yes.
He says in the 18th chapter, no? Nashto moha smritir labdva. I have lost all my moha, means delusion. I have lost all my delusion and I have got back my reality. The smriti is not memory, but as the knowledge that I am the Atman. That is what is Arjuna's statement, which shows that Krishna was successful in taking Arjuna from that identification which gave him the grief that I will be killing and I will be killed, I'll get killed, etc. That is no more there with him. So it shows that Arjuna has benefited from the lecture. This shows that we are also will be benefited by the knowledge and the state under which Arjuna and Krishna are appearing in the Bhagavad Gita later is a clear picture as to the effect of Bhagavad Gita in Arjuna. He loses Abhimanyu, he loses his children with Draupadi, he loses so many other people in the process of the war. All those things are happening, no? And Krishna's words were reminding him that what is the reality. Exactly that, he was a jnani, he became a jnani, and that those same type of words which we use today are not used in Bhagavad Gita or Mahabharata. It is more of a practical life which is being mentioned there.
Thank you, Binduji. I think if there are no follow-up questions,
Yeah, we can close.
Thank you, Binduji, for the deep manana of
stable witness, and all the questions arising when, thank you for Venkatji and Ganesh Prasadji and Anu for having come up and asked questions. And as usual, all the members in the audience patiently listening to the whole class and follow-up discussions. So we will continue this tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. IST. Please join us then. Have a great evening or great day. Over to Binduji for closing.
Thank you, Prakash. Thank you, Ganesh Prasad, Venkat, and Anu for the questions, and Prakash for your question also. See you tomorrow at the same time. Hari Om. Good night.
Good night. Good night. Hari Om.